So today we're going to continue with fractions, and we're going to begin with multiplying fractions, and then we're also going to divide fractions. So our first example says 1/2 multiplied by 3/4. I'm going to show you first the long way of thinking about it, and then I'm going to show you the shortcut. So what this question is actually saying is we want to know what 3/4 of half is. So if we look at the figure right here, and I'm going to split it into half. So I have this half over here. And then I want to split that half by 3/4. So of course we've got to add some sections into it because right now it's just got this piece here. And I want to know 3/4 of it, so I've got to break it into pieces of 4s because it's 3/4 of it. And we're going to take 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. And so how much of the original do I have? Well, I have 1, 2, 3 pieces out of, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. So I have 3/8. Now, if we were to draw this out each time, it would take us a considerable amount of time. And so we have a shortcut. And so when we have 1/2 multiplied by 3/4, all we do is we multiply the denominators by the denominators, and we multiply the numerators, or the top pieces, by the top pieces. And so really what we have is 1 multiplied by 3 divided by 2 multiplied by 4, which is equal to 3/8. You don't have to write this in-between step if you don't want to. You could have just said, well, from here, the top pieces are 1 multiplied by 3, which is 3, and the bottom is 2 multiplied by 4, which is 8. All right, let's do another example. So this one we're just going to look at the shortcut. So I have 3 divided by 5 multiplied by 15 divided by 16. And again, there's another shortcut that I'm going to show you in a minute, but first let's just do it like we did before. So we have the top pieces are multiplied by the top, and the bottom pieces are divided by the bottom. And so what we end up with is 3 multiplied by 15 is 45, and 5 multiplied by 16 is 80. Now, just as in the last unit, or the last section, we always wanted to reduce our fractions. Notice that the 45, the end number is a 5, and the 80 number ends with a 0, and therefore they're both divisible by 5. So if I divide the top, and I also have to do whatever I do to the top, I must do to the bottom, then what I end up with is 9 divided by 16. Now there is another piece that we can do. It's a little bit of a shortcut, and it makes our math a little bit easier. And so I'll just write this down again. We've got 3 divided by 5 multiplied by 15 divided by 16. And what we want to notice is whenever we have a top piece and a bottom piece, remember the order of multiplication, it doesn't matter. And therefore we can simplify here, and we can say, okay, well, if I divide this by 5 and I can divide this by 5, it's the same as this step here, but I'm doing it here without the multiplication piece, so I have a lot less multiplication. Well, 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. Now, I just multiply the top the same, so 3 multiplied by 3 is 9, and I multiply the bottom. This is 1 now, and 16, and I get 16, and I get the same answer both times, but you're going to find that this one's a lot easier because you won't have to find 3 multiplied by 15 and 5 multiplied by 16, so you're not doing the bigger numbers. All right, we have one more example for multiplication. So I'm just going to rewrite this question a little bit larger. So I've got 4/5 multiplied by 1 divided by 3 multiplied by 15 divided by 16. Now you could just multiply across 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 15 and 5 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 16, but notice that our numbers are going to be really big, and then we're going to have to simplify. And therefore, my suggestion is to use that last shortcut that I showed you. So what we notice is that we have a 4 in the numerator and a 16 in the denominator. And notice that they're both divisible by 4. And therefore, as long as you have 1 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator, if I divide the top and the bottom by 4, I can simplify this. So 4 divided by 4 becomes 1, and 16 divided by 4 becomes 4. The other one that I want you to notice is that we have a 5 on the bottom here and a 15 on the top. They're both divisible by 5, and therefore I can divide, not by 4, by 5, divide by 5, and 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. Now there's one last one that we can simplify. Do you see it? In fact, we've got this new 3 here that we just simplified to, and I have a 3 here. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 3 divided by 3 is also 1. So now when I multiply on the top, I've got 1 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 1, which the top is 1, and the bottom I have 1 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 4, which is 4. And this is my answer. Alright, moving on to division now. Okay, so what does this say? It says 8 divided by 2. And what it really means is how many 2's go into 8. And we can answer that very simply and say, well, 4. And I want you to use this idea when we get to the fifth example, because it becomes a little bit more complicated. We have 3/4 divided by 1/8. So looking at my figure here, I'm first going to divide this by 3/4. So I have one piece here, one piece here, and one piece here. And I've left that extra one blank because it's only 3 out of 4, right? 3/4. Now what I'm going to do is I want to know, my question is how many 1/8 go into 3/4. So I need to know how many 1/8. Now right now my figure is split up into 4s. We have 3/4 or 3/4 filled in. So I want to split my figure up into 1/8. So I need 8 pieces. And how many 1/8 do I have in that 3/4? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And my answer, in fact, is 6. Well, this seems like a lot of work. So, of course, we have a shortcut for this. So I'll just rewrite the question here. We have 3/4 divided by 1/8. And now what we do is we multiply, because we know how to multiply, and in fact we have to take the reciprocal. So the reciprocal, all this means is to flip the fraction. So if we have 3/4 divided by 1/8, I'm going to multiply and take the reciprocal. So it becomes 8 divided by 1. And now we're just going to use the regular multiplication rule. So notice here that I can simplify. I have a 4 on the bottom here and an 8 on the bottom, or on the top here. As long as I have 1 in the top and 1 in the bottom, I can divide by their common factor. And the 8 is going to become a 2 and the 4 is going to become a 1. And therefore I can say, okay, well my top piece, it's 3 multiplied by 2, which is 6. My bottom is 1 multiplied by 1, which is equal to 1. And of course we can simplify this. 6 divided by 1 is just 6. So notice I get the same answer, but this was a lot easier. Let's do one more example. Alright, so I've got 3 and 2/3 divided by 1 and 2/3. So your big thing here is that you want to write each piece as an improper fraction. So step 1, write each mixed number as an improper fraction. Alright, so remember, 3 2/3 just means, 3 plus 2/3. And 3 can always be written as 3 divided by 1. We need to find a common denominator, and notice that the common denominator here is going to be 3. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom of this one by 3. I end up with 3 multiplied by 3 is 9, and 3 multiplied by 1 is 3, plus 2/3. And we're adding here, so we add the top piece and the denominator stays the same. So we have 11 divided by 3. Alright, that was the first mixed number. My second mixed number is 1 2/3. So this is 1 plus 2/3. The common denominator here is 3. Remember, I can write 1 as 1 over 1, and I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 3. This becomes 3 over 3 plus 2 over 3. We're adding a fraction. They have a common denominator. Therefore, we add the top piece. 3 plus 2 is 5. And the denominator stays the same. Alright, so my second is to rewrite. So I had 3 2/3 divided by 1 2/3. I'm going to rewrite this, so I just found that 3 2/3 is equivalent to 11 over 3. And I just found that 1 2/3 is equivalent to 5/3. So we have division. When we have division, so with division, we change the division to a multiplication symbol and take the reciprocal. And we're taking the reciprocal of the second fraction. Just as a reminder here. So this is going to become 11 divided by 3 multiplied by 3/5. So what changed here? Notice that the division became a multiplication, and our 5/3 becomes a reciprocal. That means just to flip it, so it becomes 3/5. And now we can simplify things and multiply. Notice that we have a 3 on the top and the bottom. Therefore, I can divide them both by their common factor, which is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And I just multiply the top. 11 multiplied by 1 is 11. The bottom is 1 multiplied by 5, which is 5. And that is our answer.